Hello there, this is Butch Vernon with STS and the Heart Pocket Podcast, and I'm here again with my friends John and Brian, and a little off-camera personality. We have some folks in the studio today who really, for security reasons, can't be on camera, but we did want them to be part of this discussion because today we want to talk to you about some travel tips. If you have the opportunity to do ministry internationally, there are some things that can make that journey a little bit easier. So thank you guys for being with us again today, taking your time. And I know you guys travel a little bit, right?
Yes, a little bit.
Brian, how many countries have you been in? I love that.
About 140 now.
About 140.
I didn't know there were that many countries.
So and he's only been thrown out of 100 of those. So that's with all that travel, I wonder, are there some things that you have learned as you travel that have made? Let's face it, it's hard. It's hard to get on planes and buses and tuk-tuks and all those things on a regular basis. But are there some tips we could give our listeners and our viewers that might make that just a little bit easier?
Yeah, I think there are.
All right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our broadcast. Tune in again next week when he'll say 5 actual words. Well, let me ask a follow-up question. Would you mind sharing with us what some of those tips might be?
Yes, okay, sorry. I think there's a number of things. Part of it for me is having a plan to organize, to get to think, taking time to pause beforehand to think through. Okay, what do I need to do? I'm making some lists.
Yeah, I have a packing list that I've put together over the years that basically covered every trip I've ever had, and it's just a checklist. And I go down through and say, okay, now for this trip, nope, don't need that. Oh, I better not forget that.
Right.
Electronics is a big thing. I mean, once I'm on the bus or the plane, it's like, if I don't have it, I can't guarantee that I can buy it wherever I'm going. So,
yes.
But I also find that I pack less and less and less and less. Most people just, especially if they're going on their first time, short-term mission trip or whatever, they come with massive suitcases. I'm going, and they look at my carry-on that I'm putting, and they're going, "Where's the rest of your luggage?" No, that's it.
Yeah.
How long are you going to be gone? 3 weeks. 2 weeks. Whatever.
Right.
So they don't understand that, and so,
Well, what are some of those things that when you started traveling that you were carrying, and then you realize I don't need that?
Lots of changes of clothes. All right. When I go into a country, and any country really, other than the West, what I notice is the pastors and the sisters and the brothers and stuff like that. Listen, they wore the same clothes 2 or 3 days in a row and so on and so forth. What does that look like for me as a Westerner coming in, having to change of clothes every single day? And I'm going, and I don't need it.
Right.
I can get clothes washed.
Yeah.
Now, honestly, this is kind of my uniform. I mean, I found things that work, that travel well. Depending if I'm going to a hot climate, cold climate, or whatever, I'll be somewhat prepared for that. But if I've got clean socks and underwear and so on and so forth, what's on top of that is really irrelevant.
Yeah.
So
for me,
I don't pack much.
One of those things that you're talking about is a lot of times I see people going on mission trips to very, modern places, and they look like they just got off safari. It's almost an insult to the people that you're being so countercultural when you dress that way. For our off-camera personality.
Well, I find that I do a lot of audio and video recording in the many places I go to, so I really have to think of the purpose of why I'm going and then really adjust the equipment. So for example, if I'm going just as a trainer in one particular case, I wouldn't take all that audio and video stuff, but if I'm going to film or going to take audio recordings, for example, I have to think of cables, adapters, duplicates of that. We were doing some recording in one of the stand countries in Central Asia, And thankfully, we had backups of everything
Yeah.
because it was probably one of the hardest recordings I've ever done where everything seemed to fail, but the backups, it was just a real blessing. So I had to think of that. And if there's more than
Right.
one person traveling, we actually divide the equipment.
Yes. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Make sure it's covered.
Yeah.
I thought you were bringing that. Oh,
So,
you
yeah.
didn't?
Yeah.
I want to go back to something you were talking about the bringing less clothes. One of the things that really helps, and for the ladies, they'd probably appreciate this more, but the whole thing of coordinating
Yes.
your colors, so you can change tops, change the trousers, change whatever to work with different outfits. And I find that really will enable you to reduce your size
Yes.
on of luggage, and keeping an eye on when you go with a more flagship kind of airline or something as opposed to a budget airline.
Right.
There's quite a lot of
Oh.
difference in what you're allowed, and
Yeah.
also the class you're traveling in. Most of us are economy. In economy, in different settings, you've got to really watch what you're going to be allowed and what you're not. The weight of it,
you'll pay for
the
it.
size of it, or it'll be forced into check-in and something like
Right.
that. So,
Oh, yeah.
I most of the times that I've been out traveling, it can be 2 to 3 weeks at times. And I've done 5 or 6 weeks, and I've just got to carry on.
Yes.
Like what
Yeah.
John,
Oh, you
and
can
it
do it.
works fine. And a lot of countries you're going, I come from cold Ireland, so you hang your clothes out to dry. It's going to take several days to dry.
Right. Right.
However, in a lot of the countries you go to, you can wash socks, wash whatever your
Next morning you're good to
personals
go.
and so on, and then hang it up and overnight, and it's ready to go.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and if you bring enough, then you can wash and give it a couple of days
Yep.
to dry, and I find that makes a big difference as well.
Now with the, I want to go back to something you said, Brian, with the airlines and the equipment, because that's a whole nother dynamic.
It
Because
sure
I do
is.
the photography stuff as well, and thankfully I can combine the photography with the videography stuff. But I find that I have to carry it on,
Yes.
and it's overweight
Yes.
as a carry-on, and sometimes they'll weigh those bags and they'll say, well, you got to check this in, and I
right.
will adamantly say no, I'll need to speak to a manager, and eventually I'll have everything out on the counter to show it's all electronics, but I won't check it in unless the airlines gives me a written agreement to pay me upon landing anything that has been broken upon landing in cash, so I don't have to wait and go through their system. So be aware of those weight issues, or you can get these Pelican cases, for example, hard cases
Right.
that you can lock, TSA
Yeah.
locks, especially for Americans. Anyone coming in and out of America needs to have a TSA lock.
Right.
To have those in those Pelican cases, and then you can check it in and not worry about your electronics as anything else. But insurance is one of those things that can be considered for Westerners who are taking equipment.
Yes, and I've bought insurance over the years, and it's more than paid for itself. But then Brian and I were talking last night. I finally bit the bullet before this trip and signed up for the American Express Platinum card, which has a number of benefits as far as rental car insurance, travel insurance, medical insurance, all those things, which takes out my insurance bill
Yeah.
on trips,
Yeah.
which
Oh,
ends up
it's
paying
actually
for
covered in the
itself.
car. Really?
So,
Brilliant.
and I get in the Centurion Club.
Yeah.
Boom.
Which is airports. I mean,
Yes.
what are part of the benefits if
Yeah.
you travel a lot?
Yeah.
Sometimes those clubs allow you to rest, check emails, do things, especially when you're in areas where email and other things don't exist.
Well, and the showers.
That's what I was going to say. The showers. We came out of from South Africa through the night flight, and you arrive at 9 o'clock in the morning. Next one is out to go to Frankfurt, and we had 4 or 5 hours on the ground. So it was wonderful. We had a shower in the lounge, and we
Right.
were able to get food, and then we get on the plane and we go to the next place, and we're starting all over again with the next training.
Right,
It was perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, for me, the showers are pretty much worth the money because one of my last trips, I had 16 flights in 3 weeks. And it gets, I don't want the people sitting
Your
next to
fellow
me
passengers appreciate it.
Yeah, they all appreciated
It's a
me
gift.
being able to take a shower. So Well, we talked about electronics and some of those things. So what's some of the gear maybe that you guys have discovered over the years?
Let's marry the electronics with the gear. I have a jacket that has been really very good for this. And when I'm on budget airlines,
Right.
I've got my laptop my carry-on bag, and it may be 1 or 2 kilos over what they say, and
Right.
because I can't get it lower than that with
Yeah.
this electronics. So then what they've got, is they'll say, okay, you've got to check that in. I go, no, just a minute. So, put the iPad into its pocket in my jacket. This jacket that actually you wear around, it doesn't look like you've got gear in there, but I take out this, I'll never forget in Dublin, taking out this iPad because the guy said he needed to see it. He was telling me, no, you didn't, just take your jacket off and put it out. I said, you want the iPad out, right? I took it out, this big long iPad, and he went, I've seen it all, And it's just, this jacket can stuff so many
Right.
of those heavy items in, and you're walking around in this nice sleek jacket. It doesn't look like you've got anything in there. It's tremendous.
It's helpful through security because you just we have one of those too on one of my recent trips, and you just throw it on the security belt and it goes through. You don't have to take a bunch of stuff out of your bag.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is, when you're in certain countries where security is an issue, you just
right.
put it all in your jacket. It doesn't look like you have it, and you don't have to leave anything back in the hotel room. Because I know of people whose hotel rooms have been broken into,
Yes.
and things have been stolen.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and even the RFID, this is radio frequency identification, the stuff that they can steal, from your, what do you call that? The contactless
Right.
cards that you carry in your wallet, and you can actually get this little card that you can put in your wallet that actually sets a sort of a signal around that's for about 2 centimeters around,
Right.
which is really good. It protects all your cards, or you can get it in the jacket itself, where you have them stuck into the pockets, and it's got RFID protection, so they can't, when your card or your stuff is in there, it's safe.
Wow. Well, I'm curious. When we travel, because a lot of times we travel to places that we do have some limitations as far as like clean water and those things. You have to buy bottled water. Do you all travel with water purifiers as you go?
No.
I never have.
Never have, really? Wow. See, that's something I wouldn't, going where I'm going, I would not dare travel without. Throughout Latin America and those things, because I have gotten, in Haiti, I got in several situations where lack of water was it was a huge deal. And so it just, I have a little purifier that's about that big with a fold up bottle, and it weighs less than 6 ounces for the whole kit.
Yeah, I think if you're going to take certain trips, I mean, like I remember when I was crossing the Sahara the first time, we knew that we had to go through certain areas where we knew that those wells, the
Right,
donkeys were
right.
doing all their stuff beside it and kicking it in, and then and they're drinking that stuff, and you bring up the water, it's muddy and whatever. So we had something that would purify it, kill it, and sort of. And that was important. I was ready for that. I think that's why I'm saying thinking through beforehand. Where am I going?
Yes.
What do I need? I have these torches, flashlights that are solar powered, and that's excellent for. And I think through. Okay, I've got ones that are like a credit card size. I've got other ones that are slightly more normal flashlight size, and I think the day before, I just charge all my devices. I put them in the sun or in a light, because I live in Ireland, so no sun, so whatever. But you're thinking ahead, what do I need for this particular trip? And that's what we've been doing even this last few days, because we're going into a jungle, we're also going to the Andes. There's possibly 40 degrees difference. So what do I need to pack in my carry-on?
So did we have budget cuts with the lighting here, Butch?
So, well, sorry, we didn't pay the bill, but
at least all the power didn't go out, just the light.
Yeah, just the light. So, but I've been told I look better in the dark anyway. So
Have a radio face.
There's one thing with all the gadgets that we bring for convenience. I find that I'm also thinking about those gadgets more than I want to, and that's a problem. So, like, for example, I have a solar-powered charger that can do my phone and, some various devices. But at the same time, I'm going, where did I put that? Do I need to charge out? Is it still there? You know, what did I leave behind? Did I leave anything behind? So that you really have to know you need these things. Otherwise, it's going to take up brain space.
Yeah.
Well, and it kind of goes back to
And a
what
ton of
you
waste.
guys were talking about earlier, having that list. For me, one of my problems on the trip that I'm here now is I've gotten this new gear to be able to video and do some things with, but I don't have the bag for it. And so I don't have a place for everything, and I'm finding I am spending an incredible amount of time looking for the things that I know I have with me.
Yeah.
But because I
Going
don't
organized
have,
as well.
I don't have that system in place.
Yeah.
that-
Yeah.
That takes
you
some
know.
time, knowing what you have to take, and yeah.
And I don't know about you guys, for me, a good bag, my wife accuses me
They're
of
worth
being
it.
more of a woman than she is when it comes to, that I'm more concerned about bags than she is about purses. But because it is such a big deal for me, because it's, first of all, I was in Mexico and I had a big duffel bag and had a nice strap around it, and the zipper broke and the strap broke all within about an hour of each other. And I'm taking buses, and and I had it was overweight to begin with. It was just a nightmare. So having that good bag, Brian, you and I were talking about bags last night, is really important. Now, because we, for you and I, John, because we travel back and forth through America a lot, do you have TSA Global?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
So has that been a worthwhile expenditure for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, it gets me in and out faster. It does cut down on the lines and so on and so forth. I'm recognized as a traveler, and
Right.
hopefully low risk and this sort of thing. Doesn't do me any good overseas, but it's a convenience, and
Right. Yeah.
I want to go back to the bag thing. I had a requirement in my bag. It had to fit my computer, my video photography equipment, and one change of clothing, and any of the paperwork that I needed. And that was the requirement I had for my bag. Also, it had to have wheels and be able to turn into a backpack, because I was hiking into some really backwoods areas. And I didn't want to have to bring an extra bag just to go hiking with my equipment. And the third thing was the handle had to be long enough that when I rolled it through the airport, my heels did not kick the bag.
Yeah.
So those are kind of the requirements. And I did a lot of research. Thankfully, the bag I have has a lifetime warranty. I'm on my third or fourth bag now that's been replaced for free.
Wow, that's a great tip.
And I love it. So, and then going on to the TSA and the global traveler, I travel a lot, but I don't have global, whatever it is,
Entry.
global entry. And I find that Mobile Pass, which is a free app,
and I just got that. So.
works just as fast, but you can't, I don't
You
think you
can't
can
use
have
it
both.
with TSA Global.
No, if you
It'll
don't have
stop you.
TSA global.
I
get
do not
Mobile
have
Pass.
global entry,
Yeah, this is
Oh,
Mobile
okay.
Pass.
so
a
this is
little
different. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
this
yeah.
is different.
A little different. And I get through almost as fast as the global entry folks.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, any final things, tips that you can think of? Anything that we haven't covered that
Travel
maybe-
pillow.
Travel. Oh man, yes.
These things that go around your neck like this, everybody has them, but everyone gets off with cricket necks and so
Yes.
on. Yeah, it's not. They're not good. This is not natural.
They don't work well.
It's not natural for to sleep this way. So it's more natural. I mean, especially when you're sitting. If you're going to go forward, the weight of your head goes forward. I have this particular pillow. I've had 2 or 3 of them, and I was on a trip back from Peru. The first time I used it, we had 36 hours of mostly flying and mostly at night, with breaks in between. And the main thing was getting this pillow. I got it in the mail just from an order, a mail order, and I got on that plane and I slept like a baby the whole time, the whole trip. It was absolutely amazing. One particular one I've been using lately because it's even better. There's one called a Pokindo, and it basically, you've got something to put your hands in, because when you're kind of like this, where do I put my hands? It's really. But this thing, you put them in there, and you can shape it in any way you like, to lean over
Right.
this way or to lean it. Now if you lean forward, it's actually got a shape like this, straight
hole.
down, a
Yeah,
hole,
yeah.
straight down that covers, you know, your mouth and your thing is free to breathe.
Yeah.
And you can lean right in, and it's kind of gentle, and it's really, really good. I love it.
And it's very compact.
Yeah,
It just goes
squeezes down
very,
to
very small.
Very small.
And you blow it up, and it blows up in about 3 or 4 breaths. It's
Yeah.
just incredible. You told me about that in Orlando last year, and I bought one. I never sleep on planes, regardless of how long the trip is. And now I can sleep 2 or 3 hours using that because it fits right on the tray, and then you lean over it, and it is very much more natural. Than,
Works on trains, works on buses.
Yeah, yeah.
You can use it as a footrest. There's all sorts of things that
Yeah.
it's very good.
And it's cheap. They're only like 15,
Yeah.
20
Yeah,
bucks.
That's right.
I'll get melatonin. I don't sleep on planes at night, and not even during the day unless I'm so exhausted. But so I have to have something. And I know that there are doctors. I don't recommend prescriptions. Melatonin's
Right.
a natural way of helping our bodies to sleep.
Well, and for me, strangely enough, people recommended melatonin to me, and I took some of the tablets over the years, tried, and I was like, well, it doesn't work. Then somebody said, yeah, but liquid melatonin works for people oftentimes that the other doesn't. And so I got the little dropper, and I travel with it. I carry it in my bag so that, you know, just a couple of drops. You want to be careful not to overuse it because it's
You
not
still
good.
want it.
I mean, it does throw it'll throw your
DOD
natural
melatonin.
rhythms off, but it works out very well.
Some people will begin to change their eating habits a couple days before and their sleep habits a couple of days before they leave for a whole nother country where the time zone's really radically different,
Right.
so that they can get onto that time zone and really minimize the jet lag issue. And I've noticed that even leaving in the morning from America to go to Asia, getting in later at night, as opposed to leaving at night, getting in early in the morning, is better. Because as soon as you get into Asia at night, you go straight to sleep and you're on that time zone quicker. I was curious about like mosquitoes and things, because we don't tend to have malaria and other issues here, but it's common, like dengue fever in the Philippines and other places. Any recommendations like B12 or anything of such to help with the mosquito issues?
Marmite. Serious.
Very British.
Marmite, yeah, it's yes, it's an acquired taste, and a lot of people hate it. But actually, it is full of B12, which is actually mosquitoes hate. I literally I love Marmite and so on, and we had a British girl who, I don't know if this works, but she had this big can of the thing or tin of it, and she took the lid off because she hated Marmite. She took the lid off, put it under her bed, and she said she was never bothered by mosquitoes, and nor was anyone around her. For me, I've just got a lifetime of eating it, so I literally watch mosquitoes sit on me and fly away. I mean, they do not bite, except down here. I don't know what it is down here. So I come prepared to,
With
to watch
socks.
out. Yeah, with good socks.
Socks that go over your ankles.
Right.
Yeah.
I've also got something new here now, because I don't get bitten by mosquitoes, but I hate the sound. In the night.
Yeah.
Bzzz, you know, they're always coming around your ears and so on. It really bothers me. So I've got this thing which is USB powered. That it's a little thing that actually it sets out a little light, and it also has a slight suction. It's not, you can't hear it, but it has a slight suction, and in the morning you're supposed to, you look in the tray and it's full of mosquitoes.
Wow.
So I am going to give it its test in the Ecuadorian jungle this week, and I will be
I
able to
want
report
to see that.
Yeah.
whether it works.
I look forward to that report.
Yeah.
Instead of the Marmite stuff,
Marmite.
couldn't you just take B12? I mean, wouldn't that be?
Yeah,
Possibly.
I
I would imagine you possibly could.
I have a love-hate relationship with mosquitoes. They love me, I hate them. It's really interesting, and for years I would get bit almost all the time, and I really don't like taking malaria pills because it really just more minimizes it, and it doesn't stop malaria from happening. So I have never taken malaria pills for the most part, except for maybe one trip. And I started taking B12 a few years ago, and I found that I'm not getting mosquito bites like I used to. Definitely around the ankles still.
Yeah.
So I wear higher socks.
Yeah.
Right.
But I also do take mosquito juice. I call it bug juice. And I'll make sure to spray that during the morning hours and the evening hours where they're out the most. And, you know, there's mosquito nets that are about, put your hands together so people can see, they're about probably the size, a little smaller than a football, an American football, that you can take those mosquito nets and travel with. So I'll take that with if I know I'm going somewhere where there is a plethora of mosquitoes.
I really want to underline that. You really, you know, if you're into a lot of medications and so on, if you're traveling a lot, I avoid a lot of these medications that you're supposed to take.
I don't
Yes.
take.
I do.
Never had.
Malaria tablets are one of them because of the side effects.
Yes.
We were going to, on a ship, we were going into the Amazon, and they told us, you know, you are required to take these things. We had to take them a month before we left, all the way through, and then a month afterwards. And they said to us that the side effects were going to be affecting your eyesight. And not only that, it was only going to treat about 25% of the strains of malaria in the Amazon. But they required it if you were going to be on the ship. So I was like, oh no. But I did it, but I literally don't take that medicine anymore.
So there's a couple more things that come to mind. One is exchanging money, and I know we only have about a minute or so left. Exchanging money. And also, where do people go to figure out what they need for getting into countries like visas and stuff? Any recommendations there?
All the visa requirements and things like that, I go straight to Perry International online. They've got offices in Chicago, New York, I think maybe LA, and this sort of thing. And any information I've needed, any country of the world, I just go to perryinternational.com and download it.
Perry?
Yeah,
Okay.
Perry.
I'm using Google. Some of the thing just asking about visas, you know, Irish passport, visas, you know, Emirates or something like that. I'll look it up, and it tells me what's needed. I also do another thing, wall sockets, you know, Emirates.
Yes.
And to make sure, you know, that,
Get
okay,
your
what am I
covered.
going to bring? What do I need? Or the various countries. Also the temperatures to help me know what clothing I'm going to need. Is it a dry heat or a humid heat? All those sort of things. You can get that beforehand.
And I never get my money exchanged at the airport if I can avoid it.
Right.
If I have to
Costs
do it
you a
at the
lot.
airport, I'll do a small amount, but I'll wait till I get out on the streets where there are money exchangers, and of course honest money exchangers, where the price of the money is less expensive, and it's selling it back. I don't usually sell it back. If I travel enough to that country, I will keep what I buy.
Right.
Right. That way, when you're going back in, you're already prepared in advance.
Exactly.
I've got a envelope for India, one for Thailand, or what have you. You know.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for sharing. And again, this is Butch Vernon with Simply the Story and Heart Pocket Podcast. Hope you've enjoyed this show. Contact us if you have any questions or suggestions. Till then, goodbye.